LEGO just announced 6 brand new idea sets that will be produced over the next couple of years. Some of these sets are licensed, while others are not. Some of them are really striking in how they look and have some incredible coloring and combinations and things like that. Others are more controversial. So we're going to talk about those sets, and I did some research to see how many idea sets are still yet to be produced and when we might expect them to be released. So let's go ahead and dive into the new announcements. Let's start with the 4 licensed sets, and in particular, that's right, LEGO Power Rangers. Children of the 1990s can rejoice now that LEGO is finally doing Power Rangers. You'll get a fully transformational Megazord along with 5 original Power Rangers. This is definitely a successor to the Voltron set from a couple of years ago and is certainly a nostalgia trap, which is not going to be unique among this wave of ideas announcements. Now, this one does have about 1,200 pieces. They did provide the piece count on the Ideas website for this one. So with the minifigs, I would anticipate this one being somewhere around the $120 to $150 range if LEGO keeps it very similar to this. And of course, LEGO can always change elements of these ideas sets. We're also getting a Smurf village, which includes 4 mushroom homes and additional side builds. The ideas submission includes 15 Smurf minifigs, along with over 2,700 pieces. Now, I'm curious to see how LEGO changes up some of these builds with the mushroom homes to make sure there's a little bit more variation in them to make it a unique building experience, rather than having very similar styles across all 4. I'm also wondering if LEGO is going to keep the 15 minifigs in this set, because oftentimes LEGO doesn't include that many minifigs in sets that are under $300. So either they're going to reduce the minifigs or maybe increase the number of pieces in the set. My guess, they'll reduce the minifigs. Another announced LEGO set here is E.T., and this one again goes way back to the 1980s. Now, this one is a 1/3 replica of the character from the classic 1982 movie. LEGO has produced an E.T. minifig before, back in 2016 as part of the Dimensions theme. But this is one of those iconic 1980s movies that LEGO really hasn't tapped into until now. I do wonder if LEGO is going to break up the monochromatic nature of this set. LEGO tends to try to do those things, but they don't do it all the time. That buildable Chewbacca from a couple of years ago was almost exclusively brown and didn't have a lot of color variation in it. So this one might end up being the same. I also like that the neck raises up just like the character in the movie, and the chest kind of has that red light up where his heart is, which I think is a really cool touch for this set. The last of the licensed models is Downton Abbey, the Highclere Castle, which I can see a lot of people being excited about. Sure, there are fans of the show and the movie who will like the grandeur of the castle, the interior details, and especially the 15 minifigs. Just like with the Smurf Village though, I don't know if all 15 minifigs are going to be included in the final version of the set. This page does not have the piece count, so I don't know just how big it's going to be, but there aren't a lot of sets released every single year that have 15 plus minifigs, so I'm going to be a little bit skeptical when it comes to that. I also think that there are a lot of other fans who might like this set, me being one of them. I'm not into Downton Abbey, but I do love Castle, and Castle fans are always scrounging for a new opportunity to get castles or castle pieces. And I think this is one that could interest modular fans as well. If you could provide some way to have those connections with modular buildings, you would have a really nice, different architectural building in your city. I think that is something that would appeal to a lot of people. There were 2 non-licensed sets announced as well, and these are very, very striking and promise to be very intriguing builds. La Catrina is insanely detailed and creative, with lots of fascinating building techniques and interesting parts usage. If LEGO keeps this similar in size and piece count, I think a lot of fans are going to be surprised by just how tall it is, nearly 3 feet, and expensive because it's got almost 3,000 pieces. Honestly, as cool as this set is, I see a lot of people viewing it kind of like the family Christmas tree that was just released this month. It's something that's big, it's a nice sculpture, it can look impressive, especially in person, but a lot of people are going to ask, how does this get to be so expensive? The solution for LEGO, if they want to make amends to that, would be to reduce the piece count. They can do this by only having 1 color of dress included. The submission actually has 2, orange and a pink. or they could reduce the size of it. If I had to guess, they're going to give us one color of the dress and maybe keep this in a similar scale. So this could be a rather expensive sculpture for fans, but it does look fantastic. The last release is the ramen set, which I know has a lot of fans puzzled. Still, this is definitely going to be a very interesting build because it has a lot of nice parts usage and a lot of unique techniques. In some ways, this actually reminds me of the Tropical Aquarium that's coming out in November. It's a set that I think a lot of fans are curious as to why this is coming out, but it does have a lot of different mini builds to it and is something that those who appreciate very intriguing builds are going to like. However, I do note that there are probably a couple techniques that are not going to be used in the final verdict because I'm skeptical that LEGO is going to use hands, minifig hands, to build a substantial side build in this set. Also, note that there are a lot of 1x1 round plates and other small pieces that are used in the bowl, like to fill it up as if for the soup, and that could increase the piece count while keeping the price relatively low, which isn't a bad thing, but it is a lot of small pieces. This is one of those sets that I think is going to be in the eye of the beholder. I'm not sure what the market is for this set other than people who like interesting pieces and cool builds. And that may be enough for it to sell well, but we'll find out. 3 other sets were placed into what LEGO calls the parking lot. And this is an area where LEGO is doing more investigation as to whether or not these idea sets could be translated into actual sets. In fact, in the sets I mentioned earlier, Downton Abbey was in the parking lot and has now been moved into production. So these sets are not guaranteed to be made, but they aren't ruled out either. These sets are the Daft Punk concert, Golden Girls, and the Old Man and the Sea. We definitely see the span of historical ideas catalog here, as there's a TV show studio set, just like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, Seinfeld, and others, and then a very unique, colorful build in The Old Man and the Sea, which is just very, very busy and visually appealing. We'll find out in the next couple of review cycles if any of these sets move into production. I did some poking around, and it turns out that the 6 sets that were just announced as idea sets today or this week are the same amount as the entirety of the 2024 review periods. So LEGO split it up across 3 different review periods, and they announced 6 sets in 2024 total, 6 sets for just this most recent review period. Some of this has to do with a record-setting number of submissions that reached the 10,000 voter support threshold, and there's even more coming up in the next review period in terms of those that they have to review. So we might see quite a few there. Now, in terms of production time, I went back and looked, and if you look at the 2023, 2024 ideas sets that were approved, it takes about 12 to 18 months for them to come into production, usually closer to that probably 10 to 12 to 14 months than that year and a half. So expect to see some of these sets released in 2026, maybe as soon as the summer of 2026. Now, I also want to take a look at the LEGO Ideas backlog, because there are quite a few idea sets that have yet to be released, even though we have some rumored release dates coming up. All told, there are the 6 sets that were announced today, plus 10 others that are still in the works for LEGO Ideas. Now, I'm going to list them off. I'm going to show you some images of the approved version, so not the final version, but the submissions. You might pick up on a little theme here. First up is the Lovebirds, which was a contest winner. That's rumored to be coming out in January for around 50 to 60 US dollars. Then there's the Floating Sea Otter, which is rumored to be coming out in March of 2026 for around 120 US dollars. There's the Snoopy Campfire, and a modernized version of the 1990s era Sea Serpent. That was a castle set. This is going to be a gift with purchase in 2026, and oh, by the way, this was a contest winner. There's the Tintin Space Rocket and Godzilla that were announced recently in the previous Ideas review period. Then there's the X-Files, The Truth Is Out There, which was a winner of a 90s throwback nostalgia contest, as was a Wallace and Gromit set, which was a contest winner. There's the Build, Paint, and Play set, which is coming out sometime, I'm guessing, in 2026. That was another contest winner. And the Vintage Sewing Machine that was recently announced, which was you guessed it, another contest winner. This means that of the 10 idea sets that have been approved but not released, and not including the 6 that were just announced this week, 6 of them were contest winners. And I think it's a great way for LEGO to give some smaller models and some other ones a chance to be made into official LEGO sets. But it is also important to note that LEGO might have been just running out of regular idea sets, and with the record number of submissions reaching the 10,000 voter support threshold, it was time to add some more to that backlog. Now, if you're wondering how many sets are going to be coming out in 2026 from the Ideas line, well, I maybe have that covered for you as well. I did some research over at brickset.com. Here's what I found, that in 2025, there were 14 idea sets that were released at this point in time, which is the most ever. The second most ever was 2024, which had 10 sets released. So LEGO is increasing the number of idea sets that are coming out each year, and that bodes well for those of you who are looking to get your hands on some of these recent announcements. So there you have it, a little bit of details about the sets that were just announced, as well as some history and some context that allows us to know when these sets might be coming out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.